Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Trumpo the Wonder Clown is now on a daily basis, it seems, highlighting just what a mistake it is to put a failed businessman in charge of deciding national trade policy. He's climbed down again, this time with some exemptions for the car industry, but he's also been told that his precious coal industry is actually going to produce less coal, not more, because of his idiot tariffs. I mean, that tells a story in itself, doesn't it, about Trump's level of competence. Tries to increase coal production, actually makes it go down. But first, for daily news and commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So yeah, he's done it again. He's done it again. He's climbed down even further. Someone should just put a crash mat at the bottom of his tariff ladder. Let him jump off so we can all finish this up and go home. The warnings from what's being described as corporate America are coming thick and fast. Trump has had to calm investors down towards the start of the week by saying that the trade war with China will end. The IMF have downgraded growth forecasts by a lot as a direct result of the tariffs. Reports suggest that where blue chip companies are having earnings calls for the first quarter, apparently 90% of them are citing tariffs as a bit of a problem, and 44% of them are talking about recession. The Federal Reserve has said that the tariffs make cutting interest rates, something that Trump is desperate for, which other central banks are doing, more difficult in America. Like Trump's complaining, oh, but the European Central Bank's been cutting interest rates. Yeah, the EU hasn't been putting tariffs on a load of imports, has it? Driving inflation up. And consider why Trump has pursued this policy: in order to boost American production. He has particularly talked about wanting to boost industries such as coal and car manufacture, yet both of these sectors are talking about a downturn. This is like when Brexiteers talked about a boost to British fishermen and then made the fishing industry less valuable. Well done. Hilariously, not for fishermen, it's not, the British fishing industry is now landing more fish, which sounds like a benefit, but it's getting less money for it than they did before. So they're getting less money, but doing more work. There are so many parallels between Brexit and Trumpism. It's almost like it was exactly the same people behind both of them. Oh, wait, it was, wasn't it? So America may end up producing less coal, not more, because of uncertainty in the export markets. Can you imagine what that would look like if the news in America had to report job losses in the coal industry or the car manufacturing industry? I mean, when Trump applied his much weaker tariff policy during his first term, he created a net loss of jobs in America. It was net bad for America. But he did at least boost jobs in the sectors he was targeting. This time, I'm not seeing any winners at all. In America, I mean, obviously, Australian beef farmers and Brazilian soybean farmers are having a great time of it. And Trump is conscious of how at least some of this looks politically, because he's climbed down a little bit further by announcing some exemptions for the car industry. It was always the height of stupidity to think you would boost American car manufacture by increasing their running costs with tariffs on parts and materials. Oh, hey guys, I know this fella. He's bankrupted a load of businesses. Let's put him in the White House so we can bring the same business sense to the entire country. What could go wrong? So now Trump, despite having cartoonish levels of tariffs on Chinese imports, has had to exempt computers and smartphones, and now car parts, some of which do come from China. Pretty soon, he won't need to drop the tariffs. Everything will be exempt from them anyway. It's 15 days. Think about this. It's 15 days into Trump's 90-day pause, right? So we're 1/6 of the way through. And so far, all we've seen is a series of capitulations from Trump. I haven't seen any signs of anything he has presented to the American public which he claims is a win for his overreach and stupidity. But that's cars. He can do something about the car manufacturing industry. He can exempt the tariffs, on the bits they need. The problem with coal, which is another of Trump's pet projects, is not quite so easy to deal with, because the issue there is exports. Some of America's main export markets could well apply retaliatory tariffs or just buy elsewhere. So the Netherlands, for example, they buy quite a lot of US coal. They're part of the EU. The EU have said that they will retaliate if Trump takes the piss. They halted their own. They were planning retaliatory tariffs. It's only when Trump paused the tariffs for the 90 days that the EU also paused theirs. But that is a risk for American coal exporters if Trump goes back to them. India, Brazil, they both buy a lot. Now, they might end up aligning more closely on trade with China if Trump continues to try strong arm tactics. India in particular, I mean, they're a large economy and they were hit with a higher rate of 26% tariffs. So they probably need to show a bit of a show of strength if Trump tries to restore those tariffs. And it's not just coal which is set to suffer. Gas-fired power stations, they're going to have high running costs as a direct result of the tariffs. So as demand for electricity increases, something which Biden was looking to deal with via low carbon energy production, Trump is now wanting to lean more into fossil fuels, but his trade policies have made those more expensive. Being clear, despite what the Trumpists in Britain say, fossil fuels are the most expensive source of energy in both the UK and the USA. But the orange one has now made fossil fuels even more expensive to use. It's quite remarkable, really. Never mind. Trump, people are sort of saying at the moment, Trump's an agent for the Kremlin. I think it might not be very long before people start wondering if he's actually a double agent working for the renewable energy lobby. And because demand for electricity is going up, electricity prices could be hit with a triple whammy. Like, you've got increased demand, so that leads to higher costs unless you also increase supply. Running costs are increasing for the only form of power expansion Trump is interested in. And if he doesn't throw a bucket of cold water over his trade wars, there will be higher costs for the electricity which America imports from Canada. So yeah, lots of executives have been making it clear that the tariffs are an ill wind that blows nobody any good. But I just want to draw attention to how remarkable this is, because in most countries, and that includes pre-Trump America, so the government do something which hurts profits. You expect a lot of company bosses, investors, bankers and so on to bellyache about it, wouldn't you? Of course you would. They're not going to be shy about saying, oh, this is really bad for business. Like, we've had no end of complaining about the higher employer national insurance contributions from businesses in the UK since last autumn. But Trump is attempting to crush all dissent in America and openly wages a war of retribution against any person or organisation he feels isn't completely aligned with him. In this environment, actually, it is remarkable that executives have been so open about the damage these Trump tariffs are doing, even if they're not naming Trump specifically in their criticism. They're just talking about the policy. But we all know who the policy is. You know, you compare this with Brexit. So when a Conservative government, who also sought to suppress criticism of the policy, although without as many threats, they succeeded in getting a lot of business leaders to keep quiet on Brexit criticism. Because the threat was, if you start bellyaching in public, then you won't be able to talk to our ministers. And businesses thought it was better to talk directly to ministers and try to persuade them than risk having that line of communication cut off. Now, those business leaders have now started complaining about Brexit, years too late, of course, because the current government isn't threatening to cut off their access to ministers for speaking out like the last one did. But so far, you know, you've got, I mean, I would say for American executives to be so open about the damage these tariffs are doing, with a president who appears to observe no moral boundaries when it comes to crushing dissent, it shows you just how damaging they think this policy is. They think the damage, the risk of the damage from the tariffs, is greater than the risk of Trump taking revenge on their company. And although I struggle to believe that Trump will ever really drop his decades-long obsession with tariffs as some sort of universal curative for the American economy, with his climb down so far, it does show that he's not actually all-powerful. In fact, specifically because I don't think Trump has the capacity to change his mind when presented with facts. His capitulations just highlight that his power is not as great as people imagine. Trump is not capitulating because he's realising the Trumps are a bad move. He's doing it because he is having to face economic and political reality. You know, he does have to recognise that economic reality when it smashes him in the face. So although permanent damage is being done to the economy here, it's not going to spring back no matter what happens. There might be hope that Trump is ultimately stopped from going ahead with his extreme tariff policies. He may even be, he may be allowed to keep low-level baselines in place to save face, but with so many exemptions in them as to be largely worthless. And as the dust settles, everyone will have lost, America most of all. Maybe people will think a bit more carefully about who to put in charge of their country in future. And maybe in America they'll realise that Trump isn't actually all-powerful. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.